Have you ever had one of those mornings, the kind where you just want to hit an invisible eject button on your entire day or maybe even your whole career?
Oh, definitely.
To just walk away from a frustrating project or maybe a job that's just draining you or, simply to get the freedom to pursue that dream you keep pushing off.
Wow.
That feeling, that deep desire for ultimate control over your choices, your time, your life. Well, that's exactly what we're peeling back today. It's a concept some people playfully but powerfully call FU money.
Yeah, it's a provocative name.
It is. And no, it's not really just about being crude. It's actually a robust symbol of financial liberation. It's about the deep control it gives you.
It's true. And what's truly transformative about FU money, it isn't really about the confrontational aspect the name might suggest. Not at all.
Mm,
Instead, it's pure empowerment. Think of it like the ultimate financial safety net, sure, but it's also a launch
a
pad.
launch pad, I like that.
Yeah, it's about building up a buffer that shifts your entire dynamic. You go from feeling constrained or maybe even trapped to having, well, an abundance of options to truly live on your own terms.
Okay.
It's securing your ability to make big life choices based on your values, your genuine desires, rather than just out of sheer financial necessity.
That's incredibly powerful when you put it like that. And that's really our mission in this deep dive for you today. To pull out the most crucial insights from our sources on how to not just define this concept, but really critically, how to calculate your very own FU money number.
That number.
Exactly. We're going to try and give you the practical tools to find your personal freedom number so you can move beyond just dreaming about it and actually start planning.
Making it real.
Yeah. And look, if you're finding these deep dives helpful, if they're clarifying complex topics for you, please do hit that like button, subscribe for more insights, and definitely drop us a comment with topics you'd love us to explore next. Your input genuinely helps us tailor these for you. So, okay, now that we've really grasped the transformative power of FU money, the next obvious question, and the one our sources really dig into, is what does this actually mean in practical terms?
Right.
Because it sounds like it's far more about a mindset shift than just piling up a huge amount of cash. It seems like a fundamental reorientation of how you approach your life, your career, your future.
Absolutely. When we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about crafting a life where you have agency.
Hmm.
Our sources really highlight that FU money is, at its heart, about achieving genuine financial freedom. It means cultivating that peace of mind, the kind that allows you to confidently walk away from, say, a toxic job, or pivot your career entirely, or maybe dive headfirst into starting your own business or pursuing creative passions, all without that looming shadow of debt or not having enough savings dictating your choices.
Right, removing the constraint.
Exactly. It's the freedom to say yes to the opportunities you genuinely want and no to situations that just don't serve you anymore. And our sources, they tend to distinguish between two main runways or time frames that people usually aim for when they're pursuing this kind of independence.
Okay, two types.
Yeah, broadly speaking. First, there's what you might call temporary security. This isn't about retiring forever. It's more about having enough capital saved up for, say, 1 to 2 years of living expenses.
Ah, like a bridge.
Precisely. It's a strategic bridge. It allows you to confidently quit a job and cover your costs while you look for something better, or maybe retrain, or even launch your own business. It's about buying yourself time, reducing that pressure to just jump into the next available thing.
That makes a lot of sense. What's the other one?
Well, the other one is the more ambitious goal, indefinite freedom. This is what most people probably picture when they think of true financial independence or maybe early retirement.
Right, the quit work forever dream.
Kind of, yeah.
Uh,
It's having a large enough investment portfolio that it can generate enough income to cover your desired lifestyle for the rest of your life
yeah.
without ever needing to work again if you don't want to.
Wow.
And this raises a really important question for you, the listener. What kind of freedom are you aiming for right now? Is it that short-term flexibility for a career change? Or is it the long-term, lifelong independence? Understanding your goal is really the first step.
That's a crucial distinction, yeah. It really clarifies the scope, doesn't it? So whether you're aiming for that strategic pause or lifelong independence, the foundational step, the absolute bedrock for all these calculations, it's truly understanding your expenses. Our sources are just crystal clear on this. You simply cannot plan for freedom if you don't know what it costs you to live your life. It's not just a suggestion. It feels like it's the most powerful diagnostic tool you have.
Exactly. And the method here is actually pretty simple. But it does ask for a bit of honest focus. You really need to track your monthly expenses diligently for a few months. 3 is usually a good baseline just to get an accurate average.
3 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Diligently.
Yeah, and this isn't about judging your spending, not at all. It's about gaining clarity. Our sources emphasize you have to account for everything. Rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, transport, dining out, hobbies, subscriptions, healthcare. Even those less frequent but significant costs, like annual insurance or car repairs, every single dollar needs to be seen.
That sounds intensive.
It can be, but it's often where people uncover what our sources sometimes call phantom expenses. Those recurring costs or impulse buys they weren't fully aware of, or they realize the true cost of their sort of default lifestyle.
Ah, the things you just don't notice.
Exactly. It's an exercise in self-awareness, really. Once you have a solid monthly average, you just multiply it by 12. That gives you your annual expenses.
Okay, simple enough. Monthly average times 12.
Right. And this figure is so critical because it's the personalized bedrock of your FU money calculation. It's a number uniquely tailored to your desired lifestyle. It's not about what your neighbor spends or what you see online. It's about your life and your path to freedom.
That's invaluable advice on the expense tracking. I think many people, myself included sometimes, have been surprised by what they find when they really dig into their spending.
It'd be eye-opening.
Definitely. Now, with those annual expenses clearly in view, we can move to calculating that larger number, the indefinite freedom one. Many of our sources point to a cornerstone concept in financial planning that helps scale this up for the long term, the 4% rule. Could you unpack this for us? How does it work? Why is it such a widely accepted guideline?
Sure. It's a cornerstone for a good reason. The 4% rule, it basically originated from something called the Trinity Study. This was a landmark piece of research that looked back at historical market data.
Right, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it aimed to determine a safe withdrawal rate for retirement portfolios. Essentially, it suggests that you can safely withdraw 4% of your total investment portfolio each year, with a high probability, historically speaking, mind you, of your money lasting for at least 30 years. That's even accounting for typical market ups and downs and inflation.
Okay, so 4% per year withdrawal. How does that help calculate the total needed?
Well, the calculation is actually quite elegant. You take your annual expenses and you divide them by 0.04. Simple division.
Annual expenses divided by 0.04.
Exactly. The result is your target FU money number for that indefinite freedom goal. Now, some sources simplify this even further. They say you need to save 25 times what you plan to spend in a year.
25 times annual spending.
Yeah, which is mathematically the exact same thing, because 1 divided by 0.04 equals 25. It's just two ways of looking at the same calculation.
Got it.
And this rule is fascinating because it translates what can feel like a really abstract goal, financial freedom, into a concrete, actionable target number.
That's incredibly helpful for setting a clear goal. But, for an audience like ours that follows these topics closely, the 4% rule sometimes comes with caveats, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
What are some of the nuances or maybe common misconceptions our sources highlight when applying this rule? Because while it's a great starting point, I imagine it's not quite a set it and forget it strategy for everyone.
You've hit on a really critical point there. While it's robust, the 4% rule isn't without its considerations, especially for people aiming for a very long retirement, maybe 50 years or more, or perhaps in unique market conditions like we've seen recently.
Right.
Our sources definitely delve into some of these nuances. One major one is something called sequence of returns risk.
Sequence of returns.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds technical, but it just refers to the risk that getting bad investment returns early in your retirement can have a disproportionately large negative impact on how long your portfolio lasts.
So if the market tanks right after you retire.
Exactly. If the market takes a nosedive right after you stop working, withdrawing 4% from a shrinking pie can deplete your capital much, much faster than the models might predict.
That makes sense. What else?
Well, another consideration is just general market volatility and inflation. The rule assumes a certain historical performance and a diversified portfolio. But, future returns are never guaranteed.
True.
So for those aiming for that ultra-long-term independence, some experts, especially thinking about today's economic climate, suggest considering a slightly more conservative withdrawal rate, maybe 3.5% or even 3%.
Lowering the percentage for more safety.
Right. That slight adjustment can significantly mitigate risk over, say, a 40 or 50-year horizon.
Yeah.
It gives you a greater margin of safety, particularly during periods of high inflation or market uncertainty. It's about understanding the guideline, but also recognizing its edges, its limitations.
That deeper context is exactly what our listeners appreciate. Okay, so armed with our annual expenses and the 4% rule, plus those important caveats, what does this all actually mean for real numbers?
Good question.
Let's look at some examples from our sources. Let's bring this to life and show you just how personalized this calculation can be, depending on the lifestyle you actually envision.
Yeah, these examples really do illustrate the spectrum of what FU money can look like. It can range from, say, $500,000 for a really minimalist approach up to well over $1 million for a more moderate, comfortable lifestyle.
Okay.
And then for that temporary career break we talked about, it's a much more immediate, often more achievable number, focused just on covering those specific expenses for a set period.
Right, the bridge fund.
Exactly. So let's walk through a few scenarios that come up in the source material.
Right.
First, let's take scenario A, early financial independence with a moderate lifestyle. Imagine your desired annual expenses. The cost of the comfortable, free life you're picturing is around $60,000 per year.
Okay, 60,000 a year.
Right. Applying the 4% rule, you'd need $60,000 divided by 0.04. That calculates out to a target of $1.5 million.
1.5 million. Okay.
That represents a pretty solid long-term runway for a comfortable lifestyle based on that rule. Now, next, for those interested in lean fire, remember that's financial independence, retire early, but with a more minimalist lifestyle.
Right, lower expenses.
Exactly. The lean aspect emphasizes really optimizing expenses, living comfortably on a significantly lower annual budget. People often achieve this through deliberate lifestyle choices, maybe moving somewhere cheaper, or just a very intentional approach to spending. So if you can comfortably live well on, say, $20,000 per year,
20,000, that's quite lean.
it is. But if that works for you, your FU money needed would be $20,000 divided by 0.04, which totals $500,000.
$500,000. Wow, that's a big difference from 1.5 million.
Huge difference. It really demonstrates that financial freedom doesn't always require millions. It can be achieved with a more frugal, intentional approach, depending on your needs. And finally, let's look at scenario C. For a temporary career break. Maybe your goal isn't indefinite retirement right now. Maybe it's a strategic 18-month pause. You want to travel, learn a new skill, launch that passion project, all without financial stress.
The bridge again?
Yep. So if your comfortable lifestyle during that time requires $80,000 per year,
Okay, 80,000.
you simply multiply that annual expense by the time frame, which is 1.5 years. So $80,000 multiplied by 1.5 equals $120,000.
Okay, 120K for an 18-month break at 80K you're spending.
Exactly. This isn't about the 4% rule or indefinite freedom. It's targeted temporary security.
Yeah.
But it still gives you immense flexibility and the power to explore.
These examples are fantastic. They really highlight the power of choice here, don't they? The beautiful thing about this calculation is how dramatically your number changes based purely on the lifestyle you envision for your freedom. It just reinforces that FU money isn't some arbitrary, unachievable figure floating out there. It's deeply personal. It's tailored to your aspirations, your desired lifestyle, and your definition of freedom.
That's the key takeaway.
Yeah. It's about the options, isn't it? And the profound control it gives you. Knowing your number, even just starting to calculate it, transforms that vague desire into a tangible plan. It shifts your whole mindset from feeling obligated to seeing boundless opportunity.
Wow. This deep dive has certainly offered, I think, a really clear roadmap. It takes this abstract desire for freedom and makes it feel much more tangible, maybe even achievable.
Hopefully.
We've journeyed from understanding FU money as true financial freedom and control, moved through that crucial first step of honestly assessing your annual expenses, and then applied the powerful 4% rule with caveats to calculate your personalized number, whether you're aiming for temporary security or indefinite independence.
That's right. It all really seems to begin with a clear understanding of your current financial landscape and then clarity on the kind of future you want to actively build.
And that leads to a really provocative thought, I think. It shifts the focus from just the mechanics of saving to the ultimate purpose behind it all.
Oh, what's that?
Well, ask yourself, beyond just being able to say F you to a bad boss or a draining situation, what would your FU money truly empower you to do?
What's the why behind the number?
Exactly. What long-deferred passions would you finally pursue? What kind of impact would you want to create in the world once you have that powerful financial buffer? Would you travel, start a nonprofit, dedicate yourself to art or music or writing? Or maybe just have the peace of mind to focus entirely on family and personal growth?
Hmm.
The true value isn't just the money itself, it's in the doors it unlocks. The possibilities it creates for a life lived completely on your own terms.
That is a compelling thought to mull over as you, our listener, start charting your course. This deep dive was really all about giving you the foundational tools to start picturing that freedom and mapping out your unique path towards it.
Start the journey.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey today, this journey to becoming better informed and more empowered to take control of your financial destiny. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a fascinating topic that promises to deliver more surprising facts and actionable insights. Until then,
Keep digging.
keep digging, keep learning, and keep building towards your own FU money.